what's happening in Brazil could be very similar to a story of what people would want to happen here, and it is not a story with a happy ending. Elon Musk is going to battle with some of the Brazilian aristocracy or elites or ruling class, whatever you want to call them, and I think the story is fascinating, especially in the context of Twitter and what it can do on the global stage and the people trying to control it. Elon Musk announced that Twitter/X was going to close its offices in Brazil, which I believe is one of their bigger markets. Why is fascinating and a very, very cautious warning to people in countries with free speech, which is pretty much just the United States nowadays. What could happen if you let tyrannical government gain too much power? This, I believe, is from the New York Times. Elon Musk said he closed the Brazilian office of his social media network X on Saturday because a Brazilian Supreme Court judge ordered the company to suspend certain accounts or face the arrest of its legal representatives in Brazil. X said its service would remain available to Brazil. The company did not say how many people were employed in Brazil. In other words, well, I mean, that pretty much says it right there. Some judge said, hey, ban these accounts, censor these people, or we are going to arrest the people that you have working for your company in our country. The move is a sharp escalation in Mr. Musk's months-long feud with the Brazilian judge Alexandre de Moraes, I think, whom he is accused of silencing conservative voices online. Mr. Moraes has said he is cleaning up the internet by removing misinformation and attacks on Brazilian institutions. Holy cow, if that's not draconian, I don't know what is. What's the fight about? For the past several years, Mr. Moraes, I think that's probably a pretty good accent right there, has ordered social media networks to suspend hundreds of accounts and posts for spreading content that he says threatens Brazilian democracy. And does that sound familiar to anybody? Well, these people are threatening to democracy, therefore we must ban them. The good news in the United States is, well, we have a thing called the First Amendment, which is backed by the Second Amendment. And people, I mean, for the most part, don't have the legal ability to do that. But this is coming from one of the judges on Brazil's Supreme Court. You need to stop these people or else it's a risk to our democracy. Again, sound familiar, Americans? His orders are typically sealed from public and do not explain what an account did to warrant a suspension. Wow. The parallels here are honestly quite scary. While X said Brazilians could continue to use the social network, Mr. Moraes could move to block the service in Brazil if the company does not comply with his orders. Remember, this is one dude in Brazil saying you can't do this. So this one guy is the arbiter of what is truth and what is not, which is, again, George Orwell wrote 1984 as a warning, not an instruction manual. This dude, Mr. Moraes, appears to be following 1984 as an instruction manual. The party's first and most foremost concern is to not believe what is happening with your own eyes, in front of your own eyes. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. I don't have that quote memorized, but that is kind of the key point of the entire book. And it's being played out on a public stage in Brazil. In 2022, Mr. Moraes announced a ban in Brazil on the messaging app Telegram because the company ignored court orders. After the company quickly responded, he dropped the plans to ban. He's going to try and ban. This one dude is trying to ban social media platforms. Telegram is an app, in case you don't know. I use it quite a bit. A lot of people I know use it. It's a messaging app. And he said, well, if you don't comply, we're going to ban your app. And they did, which, what do you think this guy's going to do, especially if companies are already bending the knee to his authoritarian power? Mr. Musk says that he plans to stand up against Mr. Moraes, good, even if it hurts X's business. The company's not disclosed how many users it has in Brazil, but analysis suggests that it's one of the company's largest markets. So Elon Musk, in the same fashion of saying, go F yourselves to a lot of the advertisers saying it's not about money, it's about principle. He's sticking to those principles, especially in Brazil. Now, just some context. Mr. Moraes has said that the Brazilian law empowers him to block content online in order to, quote unquote, protect the country's institutions from what he calls a dangerous threat from a lot of the right-wing supporters in Brazil. Freedom of speech, Mr. Moraes said in April, freedom of speech is not freedom of aggression. Yeah, dude. Yeah, physical aggression. Yeah, that doesn't have really anything to do with what people are saying online, you big dum-dum. I gotta think of more colorful insults. Maybe that'll be my... Send me, if you have any, comment a colorful insult. A cotton-headed nitty-muggins, one that comes up from the Will Ferrell Elf movie. I gotta up my insult game, because dum-dums is as far as I can go without being profane. So I need to up my old-timey insult rhetoric. But yeah, this guy's a dum-dum. In 2016, Brazilian federal police arrested a local executive of Facebook because the company did not apply with a court order. In other words, Brazil is willing to arrest employees of platforms because they don't do exactly what the government says. Huh. Wonder what it's like not having the First Amendment in your country. And this is where it gets hilarious. I told my wife this while I was reading this in bed. Elon is just a funny, hilarious individual. I'm going to throw a picture of this guy, Alexandre Moraes. Here's what he looks like, so you can see him, which only matters in the context of this. Remember, this is a very serious article about the principles of humanity. Do we have the right to say what we feel is true, or do we not? Obviously, I fall on one particular side of that, but this is a serious article is what I'm saying. And then Elon does what Elon does best. I'll read this last part of it. On Saturday, Take two. On Saturday, X's official government affairs account posted, to protect the safety of our staff, we decided to make the decision to close our operation in Brazil effective immediately, which means people lost their jobs. The account added, the people of Brazil have a choice to make: democracy or Alexandre Moraes. Mr. Musk quickly weighed in, saying that if his company complied with Mr. Moraes' orders, there was no way, this is a quote, there was no way he could explain our actions without being ashamed. Very serious, very, reality-driven article and battle, legally speaking, going on, and morally speaking, sociologically speaking, very, very serious things going on here. He also called for the judge's removal and mocked his appearance, comparing him to the Harry Potter villain Voldemort. This is why I love Elon Musk. This is why, all of the things that he's doing free speech-wise, hilarious. Very, very serious issues. Very, very serious topics at hand. Could not be more serious. And then he calls him Voldemort. Because he's bald and kind of looks like Voldemort, and especially in his big long robe. This is how you win people over. You make a very serious topic enjoyable to ingest. Metaphorically speaking, you're not going to eat Elon Musk's Twitter account, but having people be able to enjoy fighting for something, I think, is a huge component that we need to do more of. Like, yes, it's a super serious topic that needs to be taken seriously. And also, he looks like a Harry Potter villain. Voldemort, you evil twit. Maybe that'll add twit to my repertoire of old-timey insults. Again, the most important thing that you should take away from here is that I need help insulting people in a non-profane or clean way. So if you have any suggestions for me, drop them in the comments.